Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rakha Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well and labor in the word and doctrine. Shalom, meaning peace. May that be unto the elect of the nation of Israel. With the Hebrew Israelites coming once again to prophesy the return of Yahushai HaMashiach, with the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and the downfall of this man's wicked system, this wicked man's wicked system, right, headed by so-called United States of America, known in the scriptures of Mystery Babylon or Babylon the Great. So we're going to get into some prophecy, meaning what to say before the end. We're in the time of the end. We've not reached that last day yet. And Yahushua said, no man knoweth that day or the hour but my Father in heaven only. But we're giving tokens, we're giving signs, so we're going to go through some of them. And Lord will be edifying and exhorting to them like this. Right?
Book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 1. Blow you the trumpet in Zion, right? It's Zion in the Hebrew, okay, which means a monument, all right? And sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And that's why we're out here prophesying again, all right, to our people, so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and you speckled birds, Israelite foreigners, okay, that you must turn back to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai and seek your power, like 10 times more, okay, because destruction from the Lord is coming, it's very close. Okay, and as well we're prophesying to these other nations, right? Their downfall and things like that.
It says in Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 8, it reads, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. The prophet which prophesied peace, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that Yahweh hath truly sent him. Now we'd be liars if we were prophesying of time of peace to come. But as the brother said, we're prophesying also against these nations, because they've done great evil, great wickedness. They've been in bed with this proverbial whore. It refers to the kingdom of Babylon, mystery Babylon, as a whore that sitteth upon the beast, which means what? She's a woman that she's in bed with their man, and she's defiled a lot of man with her philosophy, with her doctrine. The scripture speaks in it as wine. And when you get wine, when you have a bit of wine, then you start acting a bit different, right? You're not sober. The scripture speaks on being sober, being clear-minded. But the number one way you can become unclear-minded, confused-minded, by taking on that wine, by taking on that spiritual corruption, the ideology, philosophy, doctrine of Babylon the Great.
Right? Joel chapter 3, verse 17. So shall you know that I am the Lord your power, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, there shall be no change as through her anymore. Joel chapter 2, verse 2. Okay, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, which represents governments. Okay.
Because when you have all these nation leaders come together, what do they call it? A summit, which is the top of a mountain,
right? And hills are smaller governments, right? A great people and a strong, there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. Okay, so the return of the Messiah, Hamashiach Yahushai. Okay, it's going to be gloominess and darkness. Okay, it's not going to be a happy day like these Christians. All right, that's why it says woe unto you who decide the day of the Lord. Right, to what end will it be?
You is darkness and not light.
Exactly.
I'm not talking about them that sin. They're making haste in the time of trouble, and then they want to make haste for the Lord to come back. They're sinning. These are probably the same ones that want to take the charagma, where they'll say, I can't wait for the Lord to return. Lord willing, we're able to maintain integrity to the end. Because the Lord doesn't need us, we need the Lord. That's the thing.
Right, man. He's the Father of spirits, and he's powerful. He can just raise up any inanimate object, give it a spirit, and start prophesying and stuff like that.
John the Baptist has said, because you're children of Abraham, not the Lord can raise up stones, make them children. Instead of boasting in the lineage that they had. Your lineage don't mean shit. You can be an Israelite, you can be an Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But if you're a wicked ninja, you're a wicked ninja. You're not going to be the Lord in the same as your nationality. Ultimately, all Israel will be saved in the end. But on this time, you'll face some horrific punishment, some great judgment, some terrible deaths, that the Lord's going to bring.
And from him belong the issues of death. Joel chapter 2, verse 3. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness.
And IUIC teaches this is talking about, as you read down as well, talking about men marching in the street. This is talking about the missiles, right? Marching in their rank, they will not break their rank. They're not going to bump into each other. The Lord, there's even, do you remember that in Revelation 14 about there's an angel that has control over fire. So it stands to reason that there's going to be an angel guiding these missiles to their point. It's fire, that's what it is. It's just another type of fire.
The spirit of Yahweh tries to build missiles, as well, so, you can't miss.
The Lord's put his fingerprint on it. And it says, for thine incorruptible spirit is in all things. When there's an ICBM, not a thing. It should be towards the end, it talks about an angel having power over fire. Yeah, verse 18.
Revelation chapter 14, verse 18. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe.
So that's talking about Hamashiach being the one like unto the Son of Man sat up on a cloud. But the main point we're going there is to prove that there's an angel that has power over fire. So the Lord's going to be making sure that each one of these missiles doesn't break rank, doesn't go off.
19. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of Yahweh.
That winepress is going to be getting ready for the great sacrifice the Lord has in Bozrah. Through these ICBMs. Bozrah is a great city, a chief city of Edom. Right, so where's Edom today? Babylon.
Right, that's the headquarters of Esau's power structure. Joel chapter 2, verse 3. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yes, and nothing shall escape them.
In all the great flourishing, because America looks good, you can't lie. There's places in there, palm trees, it looks nice. It's like one of them holiday resorts that you see on TV. But that's all going to turn to a desert or desolate. That's what's going to be made desolate.
That land once the fire dies down.
Screech owl and satire, he talks about that in Isaiah 34. And there's somewhere else it's been. I think it's in Jeremiah as well.
Joel chapter 2, verse 4. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Sorry. Yeah,
There was one video of some missiles being shot off, and you could see the smoke when you saw it. It was like this, because the smoke was sort of making a thing, and you could see why the Lord would say they're like horses. And horses, it represents power. It talks about Yahweh being sat up on a horse. It doesn't mean literally. That's going to be the chariot. It's the horsepower. That's what Jay says. How many horses you got? How many horses on that whip? Because it represents horsepower. So it's going to be the powerful, but they're also an instrument of war. In the ancient world, in the Middle Ages, you can see them films. You've got like 1,000 men on this side, 1,000 men on that, and they run to battle. And that's what it's going to be like with the horses. And now what? They're going to be ICBM. And it's going to be MAD. It's going to be mad, but it's going to be mutually assured destruction. Joey B said that when you had that the first round of Russian persecution against the Ukrainians, which are the same people. But Joe B said, they were asking, well, why don't you get involved? Why don't you arm up Ukraine? He said, I can't do that. That'd be World War III. So even him and his, up in age and sort of frail self, even he can recognize it.
Precept in Revelation chapter 9, verse 7. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were the faces of men. Now this is going to the revelation that the Apostle John on the Isle of Patmos had on World War I. Okay, so he's describing the warplanes, like being like locusts, because obviously he didn't have that terminology, back then.
Can you imagine it says in Revelation, and there were warplanes, that it would have got burnt up. Same way if we went into Revelation 20 and it says, so the European, this happened and that, it doesn't speak in plain, it speaks in dark parables. And that's the thing with Jay. Now I can't think of any off the top of my head, You know, Jake just has them ways of speaking. You know, he'll say something. He's not saying it literally, but everyone gets it. You know, and then you have E chilling around like, what? I don't get it. You know, but Jake has that spirit, that dark parable spirit, that hidden sayings.
That's right, because we are, you know, spiritual people, and everything like that.
And look, again, the Lord has got his fingerprint upon Jake.
Joel chapter 2 verse 5. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble. As a strong people set in battle array.
So you'll be lucky to sleep through it. You'll be sleeping after it, but you'll be lucky to sleep through it.
Like, yeah, because, you know, we're coming to a time like never before. Okay.
I'd say we're already in one, but it's going to increase. You know?
You know, this will be televised as well, you know, around the world.
The revolution will be televised. Yeah, because there was one guy up in age mid-60s and he was telling me, you know, he was going into the character, he was going into the economic state of society, he was going into this, he was going into that, he was going into the, you know, just the general attitude of people towards each other. He was saying, I've never seen some shit like this. I've been alive 60 this years. And he said, I've never seen some shit like this. It's not the first person I heard it from. You know, we can say it, but it helps. You know, when there's a man up in age, whether in the truth or in the world, you know, it's still the life experience. You know, it's their, you know, testimony. And we can see it. We can go into history, but to hear it out of someone's mouth, man, I've never seen some shit like this. You know, what would that signify? We're in the end times.
That's right. You know, that's a fair wisdom because we have a more sure word and prophecy. Okay. You know, these scriptures are brought to life by the current events that are taking place, and we're filtering through that. Okay. The Holy Spirit, you know, what's something with you. Alright. That's that word. Okay. Through the scriptures. Alright. Does anyone can pick up the Bible and attempt to understand it completely, but you know, it's addressed to the Israelites. That's right. You can get the secular history on it, understand that, but you know,
Next to that, yeah, that's what we're always pushing as well. You know, we learn that from the apostles on down, bishops, elders, brothers on down. You don't see a lot of groups talking about that. Why? Because a lot of groups are in it for the money, or yeah, or blood, popularity. There it is, popularity content. How are you having a fucking fashion show? That's mad up. The time when we're meant to be reflecting upon the Lord's persecution coming, right? The state of our deliverance, you know, Jacob's trouble, all hell breaking loose. You lot are thinking about, well, next year I'm going to come to this fashion class. I can't wait. You're up there saying that. And that's confusion. It talks about women speaking in the church. It's best that she has her husband at home. That's what Apostle Paul said. Yeah, but there's all types of confusion within Israel.
Verse 6, Joel 2 verse 6. Before their face the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. They shall march every one on his ways. And they shall not break their ranks.
Right, so I was talking about the nukes. Right, they're not going to fail. The Lord's, what it says about the Lord's word, you know, he's not going to say, right, this is going to happen, and then it returns to him void and it doesn't happen. You know, even when the Lord said, right, I'm going to destroy all you Israelites, and I'm going to start the Mosesites. You know, what's that, Numbers 31 or 32? But guess what? The Lord already set up that Moses would persuade him otherwise, you know, and then he'd repent of that. It was already set up in his decree. You know, the Lord from the beginning knew what he was going to do.
Nahum chapter 2 verse 10. She is empty and void and waste, and the heart melteth, and the knees smite together. The much pain is in all loins, and the faces of them all gather blackness. Right. Joel 2.
It's like it also speaks about men's hearts failing them because of fear. A lot of time you read in the scripture about hearts, it means minds, but that means literal heart attack. You go into the word, it's a compound word, which means heart failure. So man are just going to see shit happening on earth. They're not going to get touched physically, you know, but spiritually, emotionally, they're going to be tormented so much so that they just fucking die. And so you've got to you've got to see some severe shit, you know, for that to happen. I said, bring it on.
Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 21. For the hurt of the daughter of my people and my hurt, I am black, astonishment had taken hold of me. Joel chapter 2, verse 7. They shall run like mighty men. Read that already. Verse 8. Yeah, can't. They shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust at another, they shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. Verse 9. They shall run to and fro in the city, they shall run upon the wall, they shall climb upon the houses, they shall enter in at the windows like a thief.
The whole thing, well, I've got double glazing. I'm not worried about. No, they're coming through. They're going to destroy everything in its path. Couple that with the chariots, couple that with the fire that Yahushua is bringing. He's come to, what does it say? I'm come to send fire on earth. What will life it be already kindled? So the chariots, the ICBMs, probably Molotov cocktails from man cooking up. It says a man will have no pity on his neighbor, but spoiling and destroying his goods due to lack of bread. Paraphrasing that out of Second Ezra's. So as the brother said earlier, we're going into them times. We're going into an unprecedented time. We're already in some unprecedented time, but man, the time to come is going to make this look like this is going to look like the kingdom.
Yeah, dire straits is what these people are coming into. All right, and temperature of these missiles, man, they're hotter than the sun.
You won't want to bathe in that, man.
Joel chapter 2 and verse 10. The earth shall quake before them, the heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great. Be strong that executeth his word. For the day of the Lord Yahweh is great and very terrible, and who can abide it?
As you see these nukes, although these other nations are shooting them off, guess what? The Lord made even the wicked for the day of evil. Right? It talks about that wicked. Preserve me from the wicked, which is thy sword. At that time it was talking about King Saul. Now we apply it to E. But all these nations, they're doing great wickedness. But guess what? That wickedness is going to help aid the Lord's plan. Did not the Lord say he does all things, creates peace and evil? I, the Lord, do all these things, he said. Right?
This destruction, it's not going to completely, destroy the world, the physical earth. Okay, certain different cities will be hit with, missiles. Of course, the land of Israel and Babylon the Great will be destroyed. Right, Babylon the Great into a lake of fire is what it's going to turn into. All right, but fire is a purifying agent. Okay, so the earth will be in a refreshed state, a new state.
You're doing them things in science class in school, and you got the Bunsen burner. You had to put that shit, the inoculating loop. You had to put that through the fire. Why? Because it cleanses it. It removes it of any, impurity. Not impurity in the metal, but up on the surface level.
Joel chapter 3, verse 16. The Lord Yahweh also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. The Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Yasha'Allah. Right? That's why the elect will be delivered on this side. Okay? And they're just gonna barely make it, and they're gonna be terrified.
So I believe in the book of Peter.
Yeah.
The righteous shall scarcely be saved. Where shall the ungodly and sinner appear? And it says in Revelation 11. I'll pull it. Revelation chapter 11 and start verse 12. It says, and they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. Right, so the elect who were taken up, ascended up in a cloud in a chariot, and their enemies beheld them. The opposition. It said verse 13, and the same hour there was a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, in a complete number. And the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the power of heaven. So even then the elect, upon redemption, when all hell's breaking loose on earth, upon redemption, they were affrighted. It means they were scared, they were afraid. So you've got to think, am I even going to make it? To be, if you sure you're chilling, cool. no problem. You just go up, you sort of chill. And you know it's gonna be, you know, your arms folded. No, it's gonna be dire. You know, even for Lord willing us, you know, Lord willing the elect.
That's right. And knowing this, you know, it should humble you further. You know.
There's no room for pride in this truth.
That's
You know,
right.
the scriptures speak on coming boldly. You know, you have to be careful with that. Not with coming boldly, but with pride. You know, what does it say? Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth.
That's right. The pride being prideful, you know, it's a step back. It's a step back from your Shai.
That's what it says. It says pride. The beginning, when you depart from your maker, the beginning of pride is when one departs from one maker. The scriptures also speak, pride is hateful before the Most High man.
Joel chapter 2 verse 12. Therefore also now, saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, turn you even to me with all your heart, meaning mind, and with fasting, and with weeping, with mourning, and rend your heart, and not your garments, and turn unto the Lord Yahweh your power, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and repenteth him of the evil. Right? And that's why, you know, you got to seek the Lord 10 times more, right? Because, you know, the only way to escape this destruction is having that hedge of protection from the Lord. Okay, no carnal means, no, you know, saving yourselves, you know, with your own understanding and from your own power, because that's going to be your shame.
Right, and that was a very, very good wording of that, because the scripture does say save yourselves, but how do you save it? From not through your own power, but going through unto your power, Yahweh, right? To go through unto Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai. So when the scriptures talk about save yourselves, or save, in doing it you'll save them, yourself, and them that hear thee. And what's it talking about? Continuing the doctrine. You know, so that's our only way out. That's our password. The names of Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, are our password.
Strong tower as well.
The righteous runneth into it and is safe. Proverbs 17 and 10.
Verse 14. Who knoweth if he will return and repent and leave a blessing behind him, even a meat offering and a drink offering unto the Lord Yahweh your power. Blow the trumpet in Zion, sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly.
Trumpets are a big part of our culture and art. You know, there's trumpets for the new moon, there's trumpets for invaders, there's trumpets for this, there's trumpets for that. You know, where do we Shao Par, right, or Shao Par Yom, at the Feast of Trumpets, the Feast of Blowing the Trumpets. You know, there's many trumpets in the scripture. You know, so you have, it tells about in 1 Corinthians 14, if the trumpet play an uncertain sound, you know, who shall rise to the battle? Because if you're doing a celebration trumpet, you know, really it's a time of war, that's confusion. So that's when we're coming out and prophesying, that's symbolic. That could be called blowing the trumpet. You know, so man that are talking about let's do a fashion show on the Pesach. You know, you're blowing an uncertain sound. On the Pesach, you're meant to be solemn. You know, you're meant to, or at least Yahweh Shai's Pesach was solemn. You know, because you have guys that go into the kings and say, well, this king was sort of joyous. Well, who are we patterning our Pesach over? Now, knowing 1 Corinthians 5 and 7 says Yahweh Shai HaMashiach is our Pesach, right? It's our Passover. So we're meant to do it in that same spirit. So we need to come out here and blow a certain sound. You know, tell you about destruction, tell you about all hell breaking loose. You know, and there's not going to be no new thing. We're not going to come out. And this week, we're going to teach you about. We're going to keep hitting the prophecies. You know, if it's repetitive and boring, then cool. You know, so be it. We're gonna teach the truth. You know, we're not going to come and tell you a soft, or what does it say, prophesied deceits unto us, soothsaying.
Because prophecy is the spirit of Yahweh Shai, man. You know, it's solemn. You know, be serious. You know. Verse 16. Gather the people, sanctify. Right, make holy. Gather the people, sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders. Gather the children and those that suck the breast. Let the bridegroom go forth of his chamber, the bride out of her closet. Let the priests, the ministers of the Lord, weep between the porch and the altar, and let them say, spare thy people, O Yahweh, and give not thine heritage to reproach, that the heathen should rule over them. Wherefore should they say among the people, where is their power?
So it says that the people mocking and scoffing. It says, but our God is in the heavens, he hath done whatsoever he hath pleased. You know, so it pleased the Lord, to like as it please the Lord to bruise Yahushua, please the Lord to put us through some chastisement, through some punishment. We deserved it. We fucked up. We transgressed. Okay, so we got that punishment. You've seen them reckless youths when they don't get held accountable. Women in this society, especially pretty women, they don't get checked. So they run on reckless, and that's what happens. You get them little spoiled kids. The typical American, fat little obese kid. He's only 6 years old, but he's bigger than a 12-year-old. Because there's no chastisement, so we needed to go through that punishment. That we may be again chastised. What does it mean to be chastised? To be made chaste, right? Because we were meant to be presented as a chaste virgin to Hamashiach, right? That's what the Lord is looking for. This is 2 Corinthians. Second Corinthians chapter 11, verse 2. It says, "For I am jealous of you with godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Hamashiach." So if we're all into these idols, what does that look like? That's some spiritual whoredom, some spiritual adultery. Being up on every god. It's like a woman being up on every man. You're not going to want to take that.
That's why our Lord is a jealous power. Okay.
That's why in Exodus 20.
Exactly. That's why it vexes him when we serve these other religions and spiritual belief systems. Joel chapter 2, verse 18. Then will the Lord Yahweh be jealous for his land and pity his people? Yea, the Lord will answer and say unto his people, Behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil, and you shall be satisfied therewith. And I will no more make you a reproach among the heathen.
So we're going to get deliverance. When we're set back in our land, once everyone's booked up, and they've been booked up and put down, then you're going to see the true way the earth is meant to be governed, true righteous rulership. There's going to be judgment, that's part of it. There's going to be punishment, that's part of it. But the earth's going to be restored. When it's all said and done, these nations are going to be happy, truly. They'll be rejoicing, because they'll see the unrighteousness of that man's system. The few that make it, and then the rest of their children, they'll grow up in it. That's all they'll know, and they'll appreciate it.
Joel chapter 2, verse 20. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, talking about Babylon the Great America, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savour shall come up, because he hath done great things. Fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice, for the Lord will do great things. Right. In Babylon, World War III, all right, it's going to take place in the Middle East, in the Levant, okay? And a lot of you American soldiers, you ain't going to return from that land, okay?
It was the valley of Yahweh's
Yahweh's judgment, yeah.
Jehoshaphat in the English.
Verse 22. Be not afraid, you beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness do spring, for the tree beareth her fruit, the fig tree and the vine do yield their strength. Be glad then, you children of Zion, rejoice in the Lord, Yahweh your power. For he has given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain and the latter rain in the first month. And the floors shall be full of wheat, and the fats shall overflow with wine and oil. And I will restore you to the years that the locust has eaten, the cankerworm, and the caterpillar, and the palmer worm, my great army which I sent among you. And you shall eat in plenty, and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, your power, that has dealt wondrously with you, and my people shall never be ashamed.
So there it is. So if we're going to sin, because you got man teach, did you see one guy came on the comment board, which I used to go back and forth with, I'm mainly agreeing, before I was in the doctrine, the true doctrine. And he was saying, we're in the new covenant now. Well, how are we in the new covenant if we still sin? That's confusion. Because because surely sin is a shame. Try to say that 3 times fast. Surely sin is a shame. Okay? So if we're still in sin, or if we still slip up and sin, how are we in the new covenant? The new covenant is us being programmed with the laws in our inward parts, in our hearts and in our minds. So that's completely confusion to say that we're in the new covenant now. You're in the new covenant, but we still die. In the new covenant, but we still sin. We're in the new covenant, but we're still in slavery. That's confusion. So there's going to be a time of famine. Lord willing, the prophets of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushua will eat in them times. It says, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. So Lord willing, we're able to partake of that. We're going into a time of great famine. So this is talking about a time after. So when we're set up, once all these heathens are booked up and being put down, then we're going to eat in plenty. Then we're going to get the reward. Until then, it's about endurance.
Joel chapter 2 and verse 27. And you shall know that I am in the midst of Yasha'Allah, and that I am the Lord Yahweh, your power, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons, your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. Right, so that's on all flesh, right? So the Lord will even show heathens, right, certain things.
You best believe some of these elites are getting plagued with some horrible visions, man. Okay. The great wickedness that they've done upon the earth. As it's written, as a man sow, that shall he reap.
That's right.
If you put nothing but death, wickedness, slavery, corruption, guess what's coming to you?
Verse 29. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit, and I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord hath said, and in the remnant whom the Lord Yahweh hath called. Sit on that chapter.
Can hit Joel 3 as well.
Yeah. Joel chapter 3 verse 1. But behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem.
And that means bring us back out of captivity, not bring us into captivity.
I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead, judge with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel.
That's a good point to highlight. When it says plead, if you say, oh, I pleaded with my, you might say, oh, I pleaded with my boss to give me this day off, to give me the Sabbath off. Now when you go into that word plead, you'll think, oh, it's, you're making yourself in a subordinate state. You're begging, it's like how we would go to the Lord and pray. We recognize the Lord. The Lord is above us. The Lord is greater than us. But so you'll be thinking, well, why is the Lord pleading with anyone? Well, you go into the word, it's the word Shabbat. The same word for Jehoshaphat, Yahweh Shabbat, the Lord's judgment. Well, that same word there, Shabbat, is used for plead. So you have to understand, we have to go into the words. It's not a skin deep thing.
And will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel.
So he's going to judge for his heritage Israel, his people Israel. Not going to go, oh please, please. No, he's going to put down some serious, smoke on these nations, man.
Whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold the girl for wine, that they might drink. And that happened in slavery. Okay. Sold on auction blocks. Things like that.
Sodomized.
Sold as prostitutes. That's the right word. Verse 4. Yea, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense, my payback? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly, pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off. For the Lord has spoken it. Sabians are the Hamites.
Okay, that actually means taskmaster.
Right, yeah. That's it.
It's the true all non-Israelite nations are going to be in subjection, servitude, or slavery to Israel in the kingdom.
Verse 9. Proclaim you this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. We see, hearing of wars and rumors of wars non-stop in the news. Okay.
North Korea already
800,000 men.
and then it went 1.4 million managers signed up after that.
Wow.
Which a lot of them, are completely with the system, because that's all they've known. They taught, there's that woman, I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube Shorts or TikTok kind of thing, which she escaped from North Korea.
Is it defector?
Sorry,
Is it defector maybe? Well, not a defector.
I don't know what that means.
I think that it's someone that sells out their own.
Yeah. She's exposing it also. She's going into it and what they were taught and this and that. So he teaches allegedly science is wrong, because if you add 1 and 1 is 2, they say. But then if you add one water drop on top of another water drop, what does it become? A bigger water drop. So he says 1 and 1 is a bigger one. So a lot of people have been grown up and brainwashed into that society. Similarly, a lot of people grown up in Babylon being brainwashed in them ways. So they're ready to fight and die for the country. So the spirit of nationalism is coming back, and I don't mean biblical nationalism, but people ready to die for the country. So patriotic, that's right. Which goes back to paternity, the fatherland.
And that's all they know, and that's why they're so, for their country, right? The government, the society is, instilled that in them, so, they're gonna go out and defend it. Exactly. Verse 10, Joel 3, verse 10. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears.
Plowshares and pruning hooks are instruments of agriculture. Swords and spears are instruments of war. There's going to become a time, it talks about in Isaiah, the 2nd chapter, and Micah 4, it talks about the opposite. Beat your swords and spears into pruning hooks and plowshares, because there's going to come a time that you don't need to go to war anymore, but you need to get fucking working. Right? You need to get working in the fields. That's what it's going to get to. But before that, you're going to have to, all the stuff you're focusing on, your building up your country and everything, you're going to put all your resources into war. And people are realizing that. For example, the North Korea thing. Everyone got sort of shook from Russia and Ukraine, but it's kind of far away. If it was France, if it was Spain, I think people would start getting a bit more shook. But because it's not on your doorstep, you can sort of ignore it a bit more.
Right. Australia with their submarines too, so that spirit of war, man, is coming upon the man.
That whole red pill shit, the Lord is putting a masculine spirit back on these nations, taking that simp shit off these nations. And when you're in a time of war, when you're in a time of crisis, that you see them gender roles revert, to what it naturally is from the start. There's no way a woman that's 5 foot is going to start telling a 6 foot man, about how this, that, or come on, man. It's ridiculous. There's going to be a time of war. She's going to go, don't worry, babe, I got this. It's ridiculous. They push out a lot of nonsense. But we're gonna see the earth reverting. And that you're not gonna have the idea of a civilian and a soldier. That's a brand new concept. When a nation went to war, it was the men of the nation, and the men of the nation went to war.
Verse 10, let the weak say I'm strong. Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Joel chapter 3, verse 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about, thither, because thy mighty ones to come down, or cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Right, because the harvest is the end of the world. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fat.
So like we read in Revelation 14 about that. You know, the clusters, the vine, you know, all the grapes, you know, they're getting put in place.
The press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. For the Lord Yahweh will be the hope of his people, and the strength of the children of Yasha'Allah. So shall you know that I am the Lord Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, your power, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her any more. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and a fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness.
See that?
Modern day Egypt, Babylon the Great.
There it is.
Desolate.
And who rules it? Edom.
Yeah.
So it's telling you there's little clues there.
And Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. Right, that's like, you know, what they did to the tribe of Gad and Reuben, right? Okay. As well as the other tribes. You know, transatlantic slavery. Right, the plantation. Okay. All that wickedness has to be recompensed for. Verse 20, but Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. But I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord dwelleth in Zion.
What is it written? The blood should not be cleansed therein by the blood of him that shed it. Numbers 20, is it 33 and 35 or 35 and 33?
Numbers chapter 35 verse 33. So you shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for blood it defileth the land.
Now he takes a covenant upon himself, declares it with his mouth, which the Lord said that against the wicked he shouldn't be doing that. But if he is doing that, well, he should listen to this.
For blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it.
Right, so that's why the Lord had a great sacrifice in Bosra. That's why the Lord has to put down this man. You know, because you can't cleanse the land of the blood, you know, except by the blood of him that shed it. You know, a man come back, reincarnation is a thing. So Babylon the Great can only be cleansed one way. Now, not that it's going to be dwelt in again, but that sacrifice has to take place. There's so many reasons. You know, you could go and the whole Mo movement. You know, the whole what do you call it? Funny man movement. Yeah. That the whole earth could get destroyed from that. You know, he left Sodom and Gomorrah as an end sample to them to not live ungodly. You know, so even in that, the whole society could get destroyed, thrown over. You know, not to mention this, not to mention that, and this, and this, and that. And there's so much.
Gomorrah and Sodom were fried because of Batiman pride.
There is. Deacon Hakai, you can use that next one in your lyrics, man. You know, he said, neither spared he the place where lots of gen, but he abhorred them for their pride. You know, so he was against the wickedness of that nation, of that people group. Genesis 19, you know, they wanted to take the angels. And what was said to them, I have two daughters, do with them whatever you will. You know, but no, they were set on the man. You know, which that's crazy.
And I
Which
Right. There were, I think, 5 cities in Sodom and Gomorrah. I forgot the names.
5 cities of Canaan, innit?
Yeah. I can get it.
Search Sodom, Gomorrah, 5 cities.
Oh yeah.
So pride, what do they call it today? They call it pride. Ironically.
So the 5 cities were named Admah, Zeboim, and Zoar. So the Sodom and Gomorrah. Bear with. Yeah, I think those are it. Those are it.
Overthrown for their pride. Now America, without that, Funimon movement, they're still proud. He exalted himself as an eagle. He puts on the eagle on his dollar. Calls himself the great custodian of the earth. Goes on like he's righteous, like he's putting out these decrees righteously to protect everybody. But we know this man's the devil.
That's good. That was it. Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Balazar. Right.
So they were going on wicked. That was like the ancient Atlanta. The book of Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 1, it says, "Come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, ye people, let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as a leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree." So like it says in Revelation 6, the heaven will depart from as a scroll, which if you see them, the ancient scrolls, it's a mushroom cloud, that's all it is. And like the brother said earlier, they weren't using them terminologies. Just because they weren't using that terminology don't mean it's not what it means. And then there was a mushroom cloud, before mushroom clouds even exist. You want the scripture to say mushroom cloud?
Genesis chapter 9 verse 6. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim made he man. Right.
And imagine the bloodshed that he's got on his hands. What, am I my brother's keeper? Is that sin?
Right. Same spirit that was in Cain, right? is in Esau.
That's right. And that's the same spirit on both of them as was in the serpent. Because reincarnation is a thing. So again, they'll say, well, if it says of him that shed it, the blood of him that shed, yeah, well, you come back. It wasn't me, it was my forefather. You are your forefathers. That's why the Lord had the great sacrifice in Bosra. Right, Isaiah 34 and verse 5, it says, "For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. The sword of Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Yahweh hath a sacrifice in Bosra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea." So there it is. Now them grapes have got to get put in the wine press, man. The Lord's going to make a lot of wine. You want it to push out a lot of wine? You can get turned in a lot of wine. And it talks about that in Isaiah 63 as well. Who is this that cometh from Edom, dyed garments from Bosra? Or where's Bosra? Why? Because he's getting busy, man. Stomping out the nations. I don't mean literally. But the Lord had a great sacrifice in Bosra.
This is Ezekiel chapter 21, verse 8. Again the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, say a sword is sharpened, and also furbished. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter, it is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? Contemneth the rod of my son as every tree. Right, and the sword is a killing instrument, right? It's being sharpened by, of how Esau Edom is, he's imagining and creating, all right, deadlier, weapons, okay? Just like the ICBM missiles, and he's got his robotic dogs and
Wise men are teaming.
That's right.
But they're advanced on a lot than Germans. A German car is known for being a well-made device.
Automobile.
Yeah.
You see that in Top Gear and stuff like that if you used to watch it.
They're renowned for that. They're known for being good engineers, especially. And if it's an E, whatever good skills he's got, if you put it to wicked purposes, he's going to prosper. It's just like Jake today, to be honest. My people, they're wicked. To do, as I said, they're wise to do evil, but to do good, they have no knowledge. Jake can tell you in a song, all right, this is how I whip up the crack. This is how I do that. And they admit, that sorcery that when they call the stuff they mix it in with, they call it magic. So you're admitting by your own tongue you're a sorcerer. But Jake can tell you all that shit. He can tell you about how to line up his brother, how to set up his brother and murder him. Well, I was looking at this, I talked to your baby mama, I did this. He'll talk about that shit openly. But when it comes to keeping the Sabbath, he has no fucking clue.
Right, or being even circumspect of things taking place on this earth, whether it be the financial sector or...
Jake is the most retarded nation for that shit. Especially them in the church that call themselves involved in what you'd expect to be prophetic, godly. He's no fucking clue. But he can tell you how to commit adultery, how to sneak out in the right way, how to make sure you don't get caught. He can't tell you anything about the banks. He can't tell you anything about this one society, anything about the commandments, anything about prophecy. Jake is a spiritual retard right now.
Ezekiel 21, verse 11, and he hath given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened, and it is furbished to give it into the hand of the slayer, which is Esau Edom. Cry and howl, son of man, for it shall be upon my people, it shall be upon all the princes of Israel. Terrors by reason of the sword shall be upon my people. Smite therefore upon thy thigh, because it is a trial. What if the sword contemneth even the rod? It shall be no more, saith the Lord Yahweh. Okay. We're the number one main enemy to Esau Edom. Okay. And 2/3 in Babylon the Great and other Israelites, elsewhere in the world, man. If they don't repent, that sword's gonna touch them. Again, maybe. This is from BBC News. In the headline reads, vegetable shortages drive surprise jump in UK inflation.
Oh, I'm not surprised. Are you surprised, brother?
That's all. Dated.
But to them it speaks in their First Thessalonians about. To you, I don't need to tell you the times, the signs, the seasons. But to them in the world, especially Jake, I bet Jake is surprised. And a lot of these other nations, it's not just Jake that's foolish, but it's manifest the highest frequency within Jake. I bet a lot of people were surprised. Oh, I thought it was going back to normal. I thought that was just for a short season. Don't be surprised. We're not surprised. What's the lucky?
Sorry. 22nd of March 2023 is when it was dated. It says the cost of living rose more than expected. As if that's a surprise.
More than you.
Wow. What a surprise. Last month, as salad and vegetable shortages helped push up food prices at the fastest rate in 45 years. Right, because we had that rationing of food.
Right, and what did my man say? He's 65, roundabout year old. He'd never seen anything like it in his life. 45 years ago, he must have been 20.
It's going to be worse than the food rationing
Oh,
in
trust
World War
me.
II, yeah?
I'll say a famine is worse than a ration.
Alcohol prices in restaurants and pubs also drove up costs for households as inflation jumped to 10.4% in the year to February from 10.1% in January. Pubs are facing it now. Clothing costs, particularly for children and women, rose last month, but fuel prices continue to fall. They'll end up rising again.
Yeah. Because they talk about victuals should be so good cheap on the earth, they should think themselves in good case. Even then, famine, the sword in great confusion or great destruction. Can't remember how to phrase it.
The surprise figures come ahead of a decision on interest rates.
They love pushing this out. They're trying to convince you that you should be surprised or you were surprised. Anyone with eyes to see, knew this shit was coming. And expected to get worse.
That's right, man. They're trying to condition you to be in that mindset of thinking that, wow, this is a new thing. We've got this under control. Because they think their house is going to continue forever.
Sadly, fucking mistaken. They call their lands after their own names. Again, this man's system could go down on usury. Usury, putting usury upon Israel. Your whole system could go down on that. The census, your system could go down on that. David got in trouble for numbering Israel. And the angels got busy. Or one angel got busy, wasn't it?
10,000.
I think it was 85,000.
Yeah.
85,000 of the Israelites. And one angel could mash up the whole earth. So what do you think is going to happen when Yahushua comes back with all the angels? Or at least a great number of them. You fucked, you've done out, man. Keep pushing out this shit. Bring it on. Just make the charagma already, man.
It says the UK's central bank, the Bank of England, will decide whether to increase, lower, or hold rates as it continues its battle to curb inflation. And, it's the in the news of the banks, SVB, right? Credit Suisse as well.
Signature Bank.
This is like the year of the bank failures.
Lord willing, we're looking for all of them to be done. And any man getting excited, I've got crypto. Don't expect to have it for too long. When they start bringing in the regulations and shit, and ultimately, not even that, but when they say, all right, you can have it, but you can only use it on this charagma. In your right hand, left hand, forehead, butt cheek, kneecap, don't matter. If you take it, you fuck. Okay, so man that really have to put their treasure in the right thing. Store up your treasure where? In heaven. Where moth doth not corrupt, thief can't break through and steal. And for where man's treasure is, there, so his heart be also.
That's right. It said it has put up interest rates 10 times since December 2021 as it seeks to make borrowing money more expensive and encourage people to spend less, with the aim of stopping prices rising so quickly. To calculate inflation, which measures how prices change over time, the Office for National Statistics, ONS, tracks the prices of hundreds of everyday items. It said the continued rise in food costs had been a big factor in February's inflation figure, coming at a time when supermarkets were experiencing shortages of some salad items and vegetables. Tomatoes, peppers and cucumbers were among...
You get 3 cucumbers. When I posted to the chat a couple of weeks back, I was looking for horseradish in the supermarket. All that fruit, all that veg was fucked. It was gone. You couldn't see anything. You could see a cauliflower every, now and then. But all them stores that used to be full up, they're empty, gone, done. But apparently it's a surprise. We're not surprised, man.
Cauliflower is a man-made vegetable as well. Broccoli as well.
That's the thing. Even with these, you try to eat healthy in this man's society. It's all GMO. He probably grew it in a lab. It's probably a clone. You can't trust this man. I'm not saying don't eat a tomato. It's not an excuse to eat fair shit, but it was prophesied we would eat what? Defiled bread among the Gentiles. That's right. That's all it is prophecy coming to pass. But it's all going to be renewed. In our kingdom, it's going to be renewed. So you're not going to have no GMO fucking tomatoes, seedless grapes. That's confusion. That's right. How does a seedless grape reproduce?
even having to look on as well as the ingredients on these foods. You have like all paragraph of them as well. It's like one makes you wonder what's in it.
Sodium bombaclatia, brass clot bombaclatia.
Have been out, especially over one thing. It's like so many.
You'll be looking at cornflakes. You'll be thinking it's corn. And like you got a whole essay. It says go online for the full list, and you've already got like an A4 piece.
Tomatoes, peppers and cucumbers were among the goods affected as extreme weather in Spain and North Africa impacted harvests, and high energy prices hit growers in the UK. Problems with supply chains also contributed to the problem. Along with higher prices for milk, olive oil and eggs, the ONS said the shortages helped push food inflation to 18.2%, the highest since 1978. And, what also contributes to that is travel for delivery of these foods as well.
Yep.
Lorry drivers, who didn't want to take the juice, they quit their jobs and all that. And with certain natural disasters happening, tempests of the Lord, that disrupted travel of food as well.
And the fuel prices going up a couple of months back, you gotta realise it doesn't happen in a day. The fuel price is gonna. Everyone put the food up. They have to count the cost. They have to go into it. They have to take off this. They think, and there's bare jobs gonna get lost as well. I read earlier, Just Eat removing around 1,000 jobs, over 1,000 jobs, if I'm not mistaken. I could have got the figure wrong, but I think that was correct. I remember it's 1,400. Again, I could be incorrect. I could be correct.
Amazon again starting to lay off more, workers.
And all of these are going to be looking to make themselves more streamlined for the MOTB system. Right? You think Mr. Bezos, who has shares and is all into SYNCHRON, knowing what they're doing, you think he don't know what's coming down the line? You had that Amazon one as well, pay with your palm. Oh, yeah. So they're getting you accustomed to that shit with gradualism.
So it reads, so-called, open quote, core inflation, end quote, which strips out items such as food, energy and alcohol and tobacco, which can fluctuate in price, also unexpectedly rose, jumping from 5.8% to 6.2%. Until February, inflation had fallen for 3 months in a row and the shock rise was depressing, said ONS chief economist Grant Fitzner. However, he told the BBC the longer term outlook was not quite as bleak.
Yeah man, we believe him as well.
He said inflation was set to fall this summer as energy prices come down. Lucian Allen is sales and marketing director at Aubrey Allen, a wholesale butcher's in Coventry, which also has a retail shop in Leamington Spa. She told the BBC that packaging and transport were two areas where costs had risen considerably. We've had to pass on some of that cost in the last 12 months, but we've absorbed some of it. I hope we've seen a peak in price rises, but inflation continues to be very real and very present. Inflation in the UK is higher than in most major developed economies. Chancellor Jeremy Hunt said slower price rises were not inevitable. We recognise just how tough things are for families across the country. So as we work towards getting inflation under control, we will help families with cost of living support worth £3,300 on average per household this year, he added. Esau will, throw a little gift, your way.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the elites want this economy to crash.
The universal basic income (UBI). I wouldn't be surprised if they said they'll give you that, but you have to take the charagma.
Exactly.
It says, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. Understand? So, man, a lot of hearts have been destroyed.
Labour Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves said the latest figures showed that nothing in the UK economy was working better than it did before the Conservatives took office 13 years ago. Many economists had been expecting the Bank of England to hold rates on Thursday in light of recent fears over the stability of the banking sector, but following the inflation figures, most expect a rise to 4.25% from 4%. Right, and that's it on this article. I was going to get it. Yeah. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. right? And, part of this devil come down with the great wrath is that again the elites have to get this economy to shut down, and so he can institute his solution of the MOTB, right? Digital law.
When really we're meant to be serving the Heavenly Father, how about showing how it shine for eternity? So it's confusing.
This is another article from The Guardian, the UK media news outlet, popular one. Headline reads, thousands of UK jobs at risk after UBS takeover of Credit Suisse. Dated Tuesday the 21st of March 2023. It says investment banking roles expected to be the worst hit at Credit Suisse in London. London is the main financial hub in the UK. And in the beast, that's right. The 300 green frogs. Alright. That's it. The fate of thousands of jobs in London's financial district is in doubt after the emergency merger of Swiss bank, UBS and Credit Suisse. As concerns over the scale of job losses have mounted following a state rescue of the bank worth billions of dollars, the Swiss authorities stepped in to put curbs on some bonus payments. The government announcement on Tuesday came after a backlash over reports that some bonuses were set to be distributed, despite the merger requiring taxpayer backing to proceed, with the state providing 260 billion Swiss francs of funding and guarantees. The two lenders are yet to spell out in detail what their rushed union may mean for the more than 5,000 Credit Suisse and about 6,000 UBS staff based in London. The Swiss government forced through a takeover of Credit Suisse by its rival UBS on Sunday for almost $3.25 billion, well below its market value at the time, amid fears its collapse could trigger a banking crisis.
This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 6. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And he increases that which is not his through the despoiling, the fraud, the rape, meaning the seizure of us, to take us into captivity. It says, he that stealeth a man and selleth him and is found in his hand, even him shall be put to death. So he did that, and we're still in his hand. We're still in Babylon the Great. The offspring of slaves are still there. In Jamaica, same way. And all through, all tribes. And he increases that which is not his. Oil. He goes into some other country, try to take it up. And the thick clay represents that debt, and that's that usury system.
Sorry, yeah, that's it. That's the Hebrew word. Thick clay, yeah.
And he goes into fractional reserve banking. Meaning he only has a small portion of what he actually claims to be holding for you. So when you read about all these bank runs, it's not talking about a little, 3 bills, a little, grand, 10 grand, 20 grand. It's talking about these men that have big money. And there, if they come in and say, right, I need to take out, $500,000, $1 million. If they all do that and they don't have it, what happens? That's right. So his whole bank and monetary system is built to collapse.
James chapter 5 verse 1. Go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Right, your nobility of Edom. Okay. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the labourers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Okay, so, ill-gotten gains, okay, unrighteous dealings of how you got your wealth, right, overthrowing governments and, it's pure wickedness.
Setting up puppet leaders, interfering with these other nations' leaders, and these other nations' rules, laws, regulations, and you're not implementing any righteous law. If you were going to go put in the true law, the law of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, what could we say? But you didn't do that. You know, and you're not even the righteous to be taking that covenant unto yourself. You know, but them that have heaped up true riches, gold and silver, guess what? Yahweh Shai is taking them, and his co-heirs with him. This is Luke chapter 6 and verse 24. But woe unto you that are rich, for ye receive your consolation. Woe unto you that are full, for ye shall hunger. Woe unto you that laugh now, for ye shall mourn and weep. You know, and that's coming to a lot of people, man.
That's right. Yeah, it's twofold too, as well, for, you know, the elites, right? These top international, you know, JJ families, and as well for our people who sold out to, you know, to this devil, and, you know, they've taken their consolation on this side. Okay. James 5 and 5, you have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. Okay. You know, that's why in your own kingdom, you know, Esau Edom should live it up, because it's the last, you know, last rulership. Go back to that article. It says, now workers face the prospect of losing their roles and also in some cases losing bonuses. In a statement, the government said the Swiss Finance Ministry is temporarily suspending already granted but deferred variable remuneration for the financial years up to 2022 by means of order to Credit Suisse. It added, the only exceptions are deferred payments that are already in the process of being paid out. A deferred bonus can include payments in shares promised to employees at a point in time but to be delivered at a future date in order to encourage them to stay with the bank or company, as well as other forms of compensation. Sources at Credit Suisse told The Guardian they expected investment banking roles to be the worst hit group among those based in London, and as many as 20% of workers would be lost across other business areas. There is no clarity on what this merger means for us, other than there will be fewer jobs to go around. In that environment, we'll all be writing our CVs and trying to hold it together. One source said, really, that's the most you can do. Insiders added that it was too soon to provide any certainty on the total number of workers who may lose their jobs. Some staff within the bank's wealth and asset management arms had been offered retention payment by UBS amid cross-sector competition for higher performers, sources said. Credit Suisse and UBS declined to comment on plans to cut or reconfigure the new joint workforce. In a signal that jobs and other costs could be slashed across the board, UBS said in its press release confirming the merger that the tie-up would save the enlarged bank $8 billion in running costs by 2027.
The largest desire is no.
The statement contrasted with one issued by Credit Suisse, which said UBS has expressed its confidence that the employment of the staff of Credit Suisse will continue. Fresh job losses could compound the impact on the city from Brexit on its business with the EU. The split from Brussels left the city effectively in a no-deal scenario, with no trade pact with the bloc, which comprehensively covers the UK's financial and professional services. This is despite the UK's competitive advantages being strongly tied to services which account for more than 80% of economic output. A lot on the side, comment, see you there. Yeah. Come up. Good morning. Let's see. Another article from BBC News. Alright. Dated 20th of March 2023, the hopefully all prophecies come to pass. The headline reads, Menindee, Australia begins mass fish death cleanup. Alright. A major cleanup effort is underway in Australia after millions of fish died in a river in western New South Wales. Fish will be cleared from high density areas, but it will not be possible to remove all the carcasses, police say. Police reassured local residents that the water supply remained high quality. In quotes. The deaths are thought to have been caused by low oxygen levels in the river after a recent heat wave. An emergency hub has been set up in the town of Menindee in western NSW, North New South Wales, that's it, to coordinate the response and monitor water quality, describing the operation as very challenging and significant. NSW Police Commander Brett Greentree said the event was unprecedented in terms of the millions of fish which have died. The water supply via the treatment plant works, and indeed is monitored 24/7. I'm comfortable we're in a good spot regards to water quality at the moment, he told reporters. Commander Greentree said contractors with specialised skills would use a netting procedure to remove the fish. But I need to be very upfront with the community and say, will every fish be removed? I don't think so, from the information I've had, he added. There's a little bit there. Says temperatures in the area reached 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit at the weekend. Meanwhile, volunteers from conservation charity Fish have begun a search and rescue operation to retrieve as many surviving native fish from the river as possible, describing the smell as putrid. Alright. Braden Lampard told the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, his team were transferring rescued fish to a holding tank. He estimated 85% of the dead fish were native species such as bony bream and golden perch, with the rest consisting of non-native types such as carp. Cassie Price, OZ Fish's director of program, said most of the floating remains will sink to the riverbed within 48 hours. It will be pretty unlikely to get most of fish biomass out of the river. It will sink down, which will cause a bit of nutrient spike, which is not good for the water quality either, he told the BBC. It's likely to cause algal blooms, which will cause more issues for a while, she added. The deaths were caused by hypoxic black water, a naturally occurring phenomenon which causes extreme low oxygen levels, police said. State government agencies said they were releasing higher quality water to boost dissolved oxygen levels and would work with federal agencies to find the underlying cause. The latest event follows another mass fish die-off in the same area that occurred in similar conditions in 2018. The Darling-Backer River forms part of the Murray-Darling Basin, which is Australia's largest river system. Its ecosystem has faced pressure from drought and increased human use in recent years, while last year brought severe flooding after intense rainfall and storms. Authorities said the latest die-off had been exacerbated by significantly increased numbers of fish in the system as floodwaters receded. Let's see on that article.
Romans chapter 8 and verse 22 and 23 said, "For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now, and not only they but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body." So we're waiting for new bodies. This whole earth is defiled, man.
That's right, you know. And this plague's coming back again. Alright? And Esau Edom is just as death to the earth.
He is a plague.
He is it.
The plague's going back, he's there.
Right? They're saying it's, oxygen levels are low and things like that. They're probably dumping things and also, in fact there will be in the waters and polluting
Factories and how they go on.
Industrial waste. Yeah, exactly.
They're saying kill off the native fish. Killing off natives, nothing new, man. Right, everywhere you go, you can't name one place he's gone and not killed off the native population, not brought bare disease, not brought bare wickedness, corruption, not polluted the morality of the people more time. Don't get it wrong, there's some fucked up heathens, but he is known as the worst of the heathen. Even Yehuda from Hebrew Elevation Congregation will admit that. They'll say, Edom is the Saudi Arabians, but the worst of the heathen is Japheth, who he calls Japheth, who we know as Edom. So even when you're trying to debate and contradict it, there's certain things you can't. Who's the most proud? It talks about most proud, that's E. Even he'll admit that.
That's right, and these plagues again, that's going to change the ecosystem drastically. All right, a lot of people eat seafood as well, but with all the mercury in the waters and things like that, okay, detrimental to human health. That's why the whole creation is groaning.
That's it. And the Lord said he would destroy them that destroy the earth.
That's it. Jeremiah chapter 19 verse 8, "And I will make this city desolate and hissing, everyone that passeth thereby shall be astonished, and hiss because of all the plagues thereof." Okay, and Esau, he likes to blame climate change for
Yeah.
for all.
For his incapability,
Exactly.
all of his shortcomings, destruction. Or it's the earth's doing it, and you're destroying the earth. If the earth's responding like that, yeah, because you're destroying it. Deforestation. That's what it says when this man's put down. The trees even will rejoice, and that's twofold. But one of the meanings is, yeah, the literal trees will be happy. No fellas come up against us. We can leave it there. Or you want to get that one last?
Yeah, I'll leave it there, actually.
So with that, we pray it's been edifying, exhorting. On to the next video, Lord willing. Shalom to the elect. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well, laboring the word and doctrine. All praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.